Hi Neil, I just wanted, for the benefit of any others, just to go back on what we spoke about today, so they can have a feel of things. Uh, about 2 years ago, I thought about the Heritage Lottery project, and I've spoken to the Heritage Lottery about a project called Why They Came Here, Why They've Come Here. And the idea was to interview a series of people. I was looking at about 100 of people telling why they came here. People from, it could be from the, to Harlow Newtown, we call it, from the 40s, 50s, etc. Um, and or indeed, if they're, I guess like myself, my parents have passed away. The stories that were passed on of why they came here, and these would be short interviews. I say short, well, given the respect, so it could be 2, 3 minutes, could be 10 minutes. But juxtaposed to that would be also interviews of people who have come here over the last 5 years. We could, straitjacket to people from Eastern European countries, people from the West African countries, wherever. We probably find out there are people from El Salvador, Uruguay, or Philippines. But it's given the feeling of the Harlow community, and the pride, and in many ways the utopia that the people moved to. My parents moved to in the 50s, then would also be, I think, as having spoken to people, have been replicated on the new communities here in 2016, etc. I wanted to do the project because I thought it'd be interesting, but as you know, I write so much news that my news in Thurrock and in Harlow takes over. However, I am conscious that next year is 2017. It'll be the 70th anniversary of Harlow Newtown. So I think I need to get a move on. It is a project that I felt, having several projects that I was thinking about, was one in particular I thought the Heritage Lottery seemed to be, you know, keen on. All the ideas. I said that's a good idea, uh, and so I think I now need to get on with it. And I think I've spoken to people like John O'Connor at Harlow Museum, but I think the idea is Harlow Council, not speaking to yourself, Neil, but also your colleagues, bosses, line managers, call it what it will, would they be interested in some way being involved in it, having some form of ownership or partnership with this? Naturally, having your Harlow was started on the back of, I mean, there's many aspects. Your Harlow was started on the back of a Carnegie Trust grant, an organisation that, has been going over for 100 years. But also it was started by, your Harlow was started by me, who's a Harlow boy who left Harlow, to study history. So was given a great education in history at St Mark's, to go on study history. And some ways I see your Harlow as it's not that horrible corny line, but giving back. And this is part of that process of being proud of the town and all about the civic pride, but also what wealth of experiences people have had across the town, etc. So that was the plan. I mean, again, as part of my bid, it isn't just simply about, if I get the, and I guess this was the idea of 2017, Newtown, 70 years, 2017, and doing a project, say, of 100 interviews, um, uh, with people who came here in the 40s, 50s, 60s, etc. But also but why it's called Why They Came Here is for that group. Why they've come here is for the new groups of people, could pigeonhole and say Eastern Europe and West Africa, and why they've come here, what they think of it, etc., what they enjoy about it, um, and taking it from there. Again, like any bid, when I'm putting this bid together, it's not just going to be, if it's successful, just one journalist going around interviewing 100 people, thank you, good night. It has to be there has to be ownership as well. So, I would like to think that, uh, why not? I've got a bright granddaughter at Cook Spinney, who's 7, who'll be 8, etc., 9 as this goes on, and why can't she interview? Can't interview me, or whatever. Um, and likewise, that process, I'd like to think there are year 12s who again, say at St Mark's, whatever, just picking that school again, year 12 A level history students who would be interested in interviewing people. But also, I think it's an opportunity, to get out and around, to Lee Manning Centre or Manor Hatch Sheltered Accommodation, to get out and about to the different organisations, because I think Harlow does a really, really good job of celebrating its art and its sculpture and that aspect of culture. But I think we're still looking for a way in to properly recognise the people who built this place in the first place. And so that's what the project would be, and again, the idea of the films is that the films would, and having obviously all the stuff I already do, I know about YouTube channel, etc., is so that there would be a proper archive. And in many ways, it's almost the idea that you could sit in Harlow Museum where the newspapers are, the Citizen, the Gazette, the Herald, and the Star. But also there'd be computers where you could see, there'd be the YouTube channel sitting of, the Harlow, why they came here, why they've come here. So that would be the idea. And then, as you have installations at the Gibbard Gallery, there could be the installation. I mean, obviously, the idea, if I do get it, is be launched, etc., and have an evening, where everybody comes together. And I guess the idea is we do it on that scale in 2017 for the 70th, and maybe it's almost a prototype, a run for what we could do. Maybe a much bigger project if again, a working group perhaps. Because Harlow has done their working groups very well. Look at World War One. A great working group, and then we look at what we could do for the 75th, which is one of these significant milestones. And in many ways, this whole thing will sit there and see what we can that archive will sit there and say, well, 25 years after, so maybe 30 years, and I'll be 84, but I have what we do in 2047. So it really is a longitudinal study and survey that I think if we all work together, we can really do something. So I'll leave it at that, and see where we go from here. But it'd be great for the Harlow Council, which has a long track record of partnering projects with Civic Pride, to work with us on this one. Thank you.